Simon Johnson from The Athletic has reported that Emanuel Emegha will in fact remain as part of the squad for the upcoming season. Chelsea still want over £50 million for Liam Delap, with Newcastle supposedly interested. The focus right now is on transfers out, but Chelsea refuse to rule out bringing in more players before the end of the window. Axel Disasi is close to a Premier League club, but maybe for a loan. Anselmino also supposedly may well be staying with the squad. Man City can't afford Malo Gusto, and the Enzo Fernandez saga rumbles on. Will he be a Chelsea player when the window closes? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And it's Tuesday. That means Simon Johnson's deal sheet is out from The Athletic, so let's take a little look at what's going on in the world of Chelsea today. Right, so first things first, Emanuel Emegha. Chelsea Dodgers reported this via Simon Johnson Sport. After some uncertainty, it has now been determined that Emanuel Emegha will be part of the Chelsea squad this season. So this news on its own is actually kind of a domino that tells you a few things about a few other bits of news, right? Nicholas Jackson is going to get sold because we only wanted three strikers, didn't we? João Pedro is the main man. Obviously, Danny Welbeck is going to be in and around the squad because we've just brought him in. So what that means, Liam Delap definitely going to get sold. Nicholas Jackson definitely going to get sold. Mark Yu definitely going to get sold. Dastan Satpayev has already gone out on loan to Burnley. So this is it, man. This is it. Like, this news in itself tells us that our three strikers for the season are going to be João Pedro, Danny Welbeck, and Emanuel Emegha. And part of me is glad about this. Look, Nicholas Jackson has been a really, really divisive figure across the fan base. In my comments section, we've been talking about him for a little while over pre-season. And look, I think the truth of the fact is, yes, Nicholas Jackson comes on and he looks like he links play well together and stuff, but he scored less goals than Liam Delap in pre-season, which maybe is a little bit disingenuous, like I'll admit. But at the same time, Xabi Alonso has had time to work with Nicholas Jackson now, and it's either, well, no, I'm pretty sure if Xabi Alonso wanted to keep Nicholas Jackson, then Emegha would have been going out on a loan. Even with Emegha being injured for the majority of the pre-season, albeit he did play in the first two behind closed doors games, Chelsea and Xabi Alonso have taken the decision together that Emegha is the one that they want to keep around the squad, right? So, I mean, I think he scored 2 goals in the behind closed doors games against Crawley and Bromley Town, or Crawley Town and Bromley, I can't remember what it is. But yeah, so this is it. There you go. That is the answer to the striker question. There's, we're not going to bring in any more strikers. We know specifically now who's going to go out. I mean, with Nicholas Jackson, he's obviously mostly been linked to Aston Villa. That's the one I expect to happen on deadline day. And Liam Delap, we're going to get into Liam Delap in a minute. Mark Yu was on the sale list yesterday when I put out we want 25 mil for Mark Yu. So Emanuel Emegha is going to be the guy. And I, for one, am very interested to see what he can do, right? Because, look, it's difficult because of the injury stuff, right? And this is kind of, a big issue that we've had with lots of players. He spent the majority of last season injured. He's obviously been injured for almost all of this pre-season. Big red flags. But when you think about the fact that we have three strikers and Danny Welbeck is generally fit and available and not spending too much time injured recently at least, then okay, cool. It's one of those, isn't it? So Emanuel Emegha, the burden is on him to stay fit and push Danny Welbeck essentially for the second spot. What I will say about Emanuel Emegha is based on his time in France, he was awesome when he got to play. He was really, really, really good when he got to play. Season before last, 14 goals in the league, which was a good return. Last season, 7 goals in 11 games before he got injured, and then obviously coming back from injury, didn't score much more after that. But towards the back end of the season before and the beginning of last season, he really went on this purple patch. He's 22, 23 years old. We are talking about another young player. Genuinely, that's what we're talking about here. So what do you think about Emanuel Emegha being the third choice option? Do you think that it is risky, or do you think that in context, ultimately, with only 1 game a week, João Pedro is going to get most of the minutes. Danny Welbeck is going to be available as a backup, as well as a vibes guy for the experience and stuff. And in situations that we want to try another striker or put 2 strikers on, Emanuel Emegha actually has a reasonably similar profile to Nicholas Jackson, where he's a striker that also likes to drift wide. He can get assists as well. He's a creator and a provider. I think he managed to get 4 assists in that first season, and he was on, 7? I think it was like 2 before he got injured last season as well. So he's a mobile striker who's, you know, creative and can facilitate, and, you know, for a third striking option, which he is really at the moment, he's behind, you know, he's the bottom of the pecking order, isn't he? Because it's Pedro, Welbeck and Emanuel Emegha. But can he play his way into form? Can he impress? What do you think about this? Do you think that we absolutely should have just got rid of this guy and kept Nicholas Jackson in? So let me know what you think about Emanuel Emegha staying with the squad in the comments. And guys, if you've made it this far into today's episode of the Stamford Sync, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, and there's a load more deal sheet news to go through, so let's get into it. So, Liam Delap, let's talk about Liam Delap. Chelsea Dodgers posted this. Chelsea want over £50 million for Liam Delap, and multiple Premier League clubs are keen, albeit it remains to be seen whether they are prepared to pay that price. So Chelsea are just playing chicken with clubs at the moment, aren't they? With the prices. The video I did yesterday was the list of players that we want to get rid of and how much we want for them all. There's 7 players and the ultimate value is £455 million. Absolutely crazy stuff, man. Liam Delap for £50 million would be generational work. Wouldn't it? Like the amount of convincing that you'd have to do to a Newcastle or a Nottingham Forest to pay 50 mil plus, because this says over 50 mil. How are you getting over 50 mil? Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. I don't see it. I don't see it. But again, maybe it's just one of those things where it's like if we go in with 50, maybe we get the 40 or something like that. He does have suitors. This is the thing, right? Liam Delap is like a fix-me project at the end of the day, because we've seen success from him, relative success, when you think about his time at Ipswich. There was a moment in time before he actually started playing for Chelsea as well that people were calling him the heir apparent to Harry Kane, because obviously Harry Kane is getting on. We don't obviously have a good striker coming into the England ranks at the moment either, and Liam Delap was supposedly being touted as being that guy. Now, look, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? Like, I think we've seen enough from Liam Delap, to know he's probably never going to be the heir apparent to Harry Kane for the England squad. But could he be a guy that gets 10 to 15 goals a season for a Newcastle, an Everton or a Nottingham Forest? Because it does say multiple Premier League clubs are keen, and I imagine that they are the ones. Awayoni has just moved from Nottingham Forest to Coventry, so they are lighter striker, so it is likely maybe that we see Nottingham Forest keen, but I don't think they'll pay 50 mil for him. I don't think anyone's going to pay 50 mil for him, to be completely honest. Newcastle, I mean, you know, they're going for a massive rebuild at the moment, and they've got a bit of money to spend, let's be completely honest, because they're selling all of their players, albeit they've managed to keep hold of Lewis Hall. They've sold Bruno G. Isak obviously went last season. Tonali's gone. Gordon's gone. Like, a lot of their best players are gone, so they've got some money to reinvest as well. So, guys, let me know what you think about Liam Delap. Look, tell me in the comments, do you think we can get 50 mil for him? Like, genuinely, I don't think so. But if any of you have got a justification as of why we might be able to do that, I'd love to know what you think. Right, next up, so just about transfers in general, Chelsea Dodgers posted this. The focus at this stage is on outgoings. Chelsea have not completely ruled out buying anyone else, although it will depend on who goes, and there is an acknowledgement that it is late on the window. So it's just midfield now, isn't it, really, to be honest? Like, apart from the goalkeeper situation, which I genuinely feel could run to the end of the window, but it seems pretty set. You know, now, Rob Sanchez has been given the number 1. Mike Penders has been given small opportunities, but we'll see what happens with that. You know, Pep Chivadi has come in on left back, left wing back, and it looks like we're keeping Anselmino. Obviously, we've brought in Lacroix. We've still got centre backs to get rid of. Palestra has been brought in for the right. Morgan Rogers has been brought in up top, and Giovanni Kendo is a versatile player that can play around a lot of positions. We're keeping Emanuel Emegha. Squad-wise, we are relatively stocked. You know, Valentin Barco has come in for the midfield as well, I guess. There's still questions about Dario Esugo. It looks like Romeo Lavia is going to stay, but I just feel like, apart from Reece James, to be honest, Reece James could be the partner to Moises Caicedo in midfield, but there is this feeling that the club are still interested in going in for a midfielder, but maybe that is now tied to the Enzo Fernandez saga. We're going to get onto him in a little bit. So the outgoings are imperative at the moment. As I mentioned yesterday, there was 7. What are we looking at? Potentially Enzo Fernandez. Pedro Neto, you know, obviously Al Hilal is the conversation there at the moment. There's the likes of Liam Delap, Axel Disasi, Mark Yu. Do you know what I mean? There's a couple others, but we've got a lot of players to get rid of, basically. I think we've even managed to get rid of like 5 players so far already. A couple of loans, and we've made like 150 million profit. But ultimately, we are going to need to start shifting players out, I guess, before we can think about bringing anyone in. And with the squad mostly set up at the moment, it's not the end of the world if we go in late for someone, unless the money's crazy, do you know what I mean? But I'm not worried about the Fulham game. I don't feel like there's any massive holes in our squad that is going to cost us when it comes to starting the first few games of the season if the window takes a little while to get going. Do you know what I mean? So guys, let me know what you think about the window in general. Do you think that, imagine we didn't buy a single other player, would you be happy with the squad we've got now for the rest of the season if we didn't buy any more players? So, talking about Axel Disasi before, let's get on to him. Chelsea Dodgers posted this just in. Axel Disasi is close to a move to a Premier League club. Chelsea want £25 million, but may have to settle for a loan with an obligation or option to make it permanent. Not surprised about this, to be honest, because if we're going to sell players, for me, the focus needs to be on the big ticket items, right? The likes of, you know, Enzo Fernandez and Pedro Neto. If you sell Axel Disasi and Mark Yu and, you know, whoever else, like, yeah, fine, that's all fine and good getting them out, you know, for a little bit of money or whatever. But at the end of the day, if we're going to make the sales, let's make the big ticket sales. Let's get a lot of money in now. So if we are going to reinvest in the squad, it makes a big difference. Axel Disasi, the loan with an obligation, was being talked about with Aston Villa for a little while. It's changed a few times, actually. Initially, it was a loan with an obligation. Then it changed to a straight loan with, like, we wanted like £4 million loan fee, and they're not really happy with that. So if we can get Axel Disasi out with a loan with an obligation, I'm happy with that. With Axel Disasi in particular, though, I'm less worried about it, because if he doesn't get a move, like let's say it's Crystal Palace, for instance, right? Let's say Crystal Palace are the ones that are really close to getting him. Even if we can't agree towards the end, West Ham are waiting there. West Ham have already agreed personal terms with Axel Disasi. We've already agreed a fee with them. But the thing with West Ham, obviously, they're being down in the Championship, Axel Disasi wants to wait to see if a Premier League club or a European club will take him for the season, at the very least, before he commits to going down to the Championship. So, Axel Disasi, I expect to go relatively soon, and I do expect it to be a situation where he goes out the door and that's it. Do you know what I mean? There's no more Axel Disasi hovering around like a bad smell, bomb squad Axel Disasi or anything like that. I do expect this to be, even if it's a loan, that obligation will be easy to trigger, much like it is with Alejandro Garnacho to Aston Villa. So guys, Axel Disasi, what do we think? Do any of you think that we should keep him around? Do you know what I mean? For depth or whatever? Or are you all just going to be happy to see the back of him? Because I know I certainly am. Sticking on centre-backs, Aaron Anselmino has been available for loan but could now stay. So this is probably some sort of indication that we're not going to go in for any more centre-backs. Aaron Anselmino does look like a good option, to be completely honest. The issue has been injury stuff, right? And obviously he got injured in the last game that he played, which was against Johor Darul Ta'zim, I believe, and he got swapped out. So the thing with Aaron Anselmino is he's like the centre-back version of Romeo Lavia at the moment, isn't he? Which is a bit unfortunate because we don't need too much more of that. But as a depth player, I guess that's not so much of an issue. As long as we're not relying on him week in, week out. If he can get fit, and maybe he spends the season at Chelsea to get fit and get minutes and try and make some good performances. And we could do worse. Do you know what I mean? We definitely could do worse. Mamadou Sarr sounds like he's still available for loan. Maybe it's been more difficult to loan Aaron Anselmino because of the injury stuff. That's the other thing as well, isn't it? It's all fine and good us being like, oh, well, yeah, let's just loan him out. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, let's loan him out. But who's going to buy him? Do you know what I mean? Who's going to buy or loan Aaron Anselmino? Who's going to pay his wages for a year if they think he's just going to spend all this time on the medical table? In terms of centre-back depth, I'm relatively happy. Like, it looks like Josh Achiampong is probably going to stay, which I'm not unhappy with as long as he gets minutes. Maxence Lacroix, Levi Colwill, Reece James, Wesley Fofana has been good in pre-season as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm willing and ready to watch a Wesley Fofana redemption arc if he flourishes under Xabi Alonso. Absolutely, I am, especially with how much money we spent on him. And also, much like the situation that Anselmino's in now, Wesley Fofana went through massive injury worries for ages, do you know what I mean? So, in terms of depth, even with losing Tosin's still going to go by the looks of things. Badiashiel's already gone. Disasi looks like he's on his way out. Trevor Chalobah's already gone. So, if our depth becomes Fofana, Anselmino and Achiampong, yeah, not unhappy with that at all. So guys, let me know what you think. Next up, Malo Gusto. So, short and sweet. This one's from Sam Lee, so it's not from the deal sheet. Chelsea Dodgers posted that Man City were priced out of a move for Malo Gusto. Now, this one, I'm not... Look, it's albeit after one performance, I'm happy with, to be honest. I was never unhappy to keep Malo Gusto. I think he's been really frustrating for Chelsea fans to watch for quite a long time now. But that maybe largely is down to how he's been used. Look, under Enzo Maresca, he was this utility guy that was flying all over the pitch and playing as a midfielder and a shadow striker and a number 10 and this, that and the other. Under Liam Rosenior, yeah, he wasn't good, but no one was. Apart from João Pedro. João Pedro is the basically only player that comes away from the Liam Rosenior era, can we call it an era, with any flowers though, essentially. João Pedro unlocked and became amazing, but a lot of players look bad and Malo Gusto was one of those. In a cameo appearance, and this is the main thing, in a cameo appearance against Real Sociedad in pre-season, Malo Gusto came on, made something happen, showed that it gives Xabi Alonso another option, because I did not expect to see this, but what we did see from Malo Gusto was an inverting wing-back. Do you know what I mean? He was literally playing the right wing-back position, but he was drifting into midfield, and it was doing that he managed to get that absolutely sumptuous assist for João Pedro's second goal. So I would not be unhappy with Malo Gusto, bearing in mind that he's a very versatile player. You know, we've seen how comfortable Palestra is on the left, for instance. So, you know, having Malo Gusto on the right and Palestra on the left offers you lots of options. You know, Palestra can play on the right. We've got Pep Chavadia. If we want to go wing back, if we're doing more of like a 4 at the back, then Yorahato's got that role. Reece James can obviously play the right back, right centre back kind of role as well. So Malo Gusto is an interesting option if Xabi Alonso can get the best out of him. And look, what we saw from Malo Gusto against Real Sociedad is something we don't see very often at all in general. He got an assist. GA. Do you know what I mean? Actual output straight away as well, straight away. And generally just looked quite bright almost every time he was on the ball. So as a rotate, my issue with Malo Gusto has been for the last few seasons, he's just been in the first team all the time. Like, I got it under Pochettino because Reece James was injured, but Malo Gusto got, like 8 assists or something in that season under Pochettino, so that was really good. Under the whole Maresca time, he wasn't really getting, you know, he was always getting the ball, but he was just making bad decisions, and he was just used in such a crazy way for me, such a crazy way. I wasn't really a big fan of Maresca's penchant for using Malo Gusto in every position apart from right back. But maybe, look, Xabi Alonso, there is this whole thing, isn't there? There's the Xabi Alonso effect. And what we are going to see, like, undoubtedly, is players we weren't expecting to see kick on and players we weren't expecting to do so well continue to grow and turn into players that we didn't think they could, right? I always go back to his time at Leverkusen. Granit Xhaka, his career looked like it was getting towards the end of it and was completely revitalised by Xabi Alonso. Alejandro Grimaldo was a Barcelona reject and is now getting 20 plus GA a season as a left wing back, and obviously he's just moved to Atletico Madrid. So look, the likes of Fofana, the likes of Malo Gusto, these are players that, albeit for the most part we feel like we're kind of done with them, and a lot of people will disagree with that. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people are really keen to see Malo Gusto stay, but I know for a fact that a lot of people also we're keen to see him go. Malo Gusto could be one of the recipients of the Xabi Alonso effect, and potentially we could see a new version of him that we haven't seen before. So I'm interested to see if Malo Gusto sticks around. At the end of the day, if we get 70 odd mil for him, wicked, brilliant, because you can reinvest that in other areas. Do you know what I mean? But also, if he stays, not fussed about that either. So we're going to finish up with a little bit more about Enzo Fernandez. I'm counting down the days where I can stop talking about Enzo Fernandez transfer drama one way or the other. But until the window shuts, let's be honest, like until the 1st of September, we're going to be talking about Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via the deal sheet. Even if Man City offer 120 million now for Enzo Fernandez, it might not be accepted for financial reasons. Chelsea are very reluctant to help improve a Premier League rival at this late stage of the window, with no assurances of finding a replacement themselves. The priority is strengthening the squad, not weakening it, so it is not a case of looking to get a very high sum to boost the bank balance. Fernandez is still a very valued player. So if I'm honest, I think it's all just PR. I think everything that comes out from Chelsea's side about Enzo Fernandez is not necessarily untrue, in the way that I think we would be happy to keep him, and there is a plan for him. I think you saw him get the captain's armband. You saw him come on in that game against Real Sociedad, despite the boos and stuff. He actually performed okay as well. He got a 7 on SofaScore, which is, you know, good. It's above average. rating for a player, and you know, he was in the top echelons of the rated players in that game. So, but the thing with Enzo Fernandez is, like, I think giving him the captain armband and bringing him on was a power move from Chelsea, basically to say, look, we're happy to keep this guy, so if you want him, come in and pay the money. I think the thing is, we can't believe the reluctant to improve Premier League rivals at this stage in the window. Why does it matter what stage it is in the window at the end of the day? Chelsea will replace Enzo Fernandez, and they will overpay if they have to, because that is just what, unfortunately, Chelsea do. We know the two targets. It's Alex Scott, it's Adam Wharton. You know, there are other options. Manu Kone is still available. There's Lamine Camara, I think it was, from Monaco as well. Like, there's midfielders on, you know, in and around that could be brought in for varying prices. Do you know what I mean? Adam Wharton potentially going to cost 80 mil plus. Alex Scott potentially the same. Manu Kone and Kamara for probably about 50 million to 60 million euros. I'm not too, like, buying it. I'm not buying it, really, that they're like, we don't want to strengthen a rival, because it's like, we literally sold Andre Santos to Man United. We've sold Madueke and Kai Havertz to Arsenal. And do you know what I mean? It's like, strengthening rivals doesn't really seem to be an issue that Chelsea have. Even going as far back as, like, selling Kovacic to City and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, ultimately didn't strengthen their first team, but he's been a really good squad player for them. Chelsea have been selling to rivals for a really long time now, and I don't believe that Chelsea are like, oh, we don't want to strengthen Man City. It's like, you've already proven that you don't really care about strengthening the rivals, and I don't necessarily think the stage in the window dictates whether you strengthen a rival or not. There's more to, you know, there's more in it to say that it's going to be maybe a bit difficult to find a midfielder. And it's not difficult, it's just we'd have to pay more money because of the lateness of the window, because of the amount of money that we're going to get for Enzo Fernandez. But this is just how it is. All of the news surrounding City is all saying that there is one piece of news I saw today saying that Man City do not want to pay the 120 mil or more than 120 mil. But at the end of the day, if they want him, they'll go and get him. That's just how it is, isn't it? Like, looking at Enzo Maresca's performance against Arsenal in the Community Shield, evidently there's still things that he's going to want to do with his squad, and there's going to be pressure to still make some big improvements. I know they're bringing in Bawadi, but the kid's 18, do you know what I mean? So it's, you know, that's not necessarily what they're looking for in order to bring experience and boost the squad. Enzo Maresca has said himself that they still expect to be busy. Do you know what I mean? Does busy just mean Bawadi? No, I don't think so. There was still talks about them being interested in Pedro Neto, albeit maybe a bit too expensive for them as well. I don't think we'll sell him for less than 120 mil, and I think for me it's just about how they structure the deal. But I do expect Man City to come in for Enzo Fernandez before the window is out. So, guys, let me know what you think about the Enzo Fernandez deal. Do you think that Chelsea are, you know, genuinely just not going to sell him? Do you think the 5 o'clock deadline on that last Friday was actually a deadline? Or do you think that we're just trying to get more money for him? And all of these things, like this kind of piece of news in itself, and giving him the captain's armband and bringing him on. Do you agree with me, and you think it's a power move just to try and secure that certain amount of money for him? So, guys, we're going to start wrapping the video up there, but I want to know what you think about everything that we've talked about today. I think the big ticket items for me are Emanuel Emegha is staying, so our striker situation is set. I think it's interesting that Anselmino might be sticking around. Axel Disasi looks like he's on his way out. And things are just starting to happen, man. It feels like we're just about to knock the first domino over, doesn't it? It feels like we're about to knock a domino over. What I have seen, for instance, is Fabrizio Romano's X page has been popping for the last few days. Here we go, all of the time. It feels like we've got so much business to do, because we do have to sell a lot of players, right? We do still have to sell a lot of players, or shift them out one way or the other, whether it be loans, whether it be sales. We've got to start trimming the squad, and it feels like we're really close to that happening. Nice one, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day. Thanks for sticking around until the end of the video if you did, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.